Good morning, I'm Nikki, the Obsessive Bookseller. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'd like to review Transformation by Carol Berg. It's the first book in the Rai series. It's something to that effect. I'll put it up on the screen. Anyway, we read this for Patreon Book Club, and I was intending originally to just finish the entire series and then give you a full series review, but as I didn't like it as much as I thought I would, the next book in the series has been bumped back several months, and it'll be a while before I get to it, so you're getting a review for just the first book today. First of all, despite the kind of weird cover, when I did my Sunday Shelfie series and mentioned this one, a couple of people, trusted people, came out of the woodworks to say that they really enjoyed this series and I should bump it up the priority list. Someone even said that it had a similar writing quality to Robin Hobb, so I'm like, okay, sold. And going into it, I can kind of see the comparison. It's a very flowing writing style. It's very easy to get behind. And the character's plight at the beginning of the book is a little bit reminiscent of Fitz. For me, that's kind of where the similarities end. For me, the beauty of Hobb is in her deep, rich character exploration, and these people take so long to develop, and by the time things happen to them, you feel so invested. For me, my biggest criticism of this book was that the characters felt very inconsistent. They would go from one emotional extreme to the other at the flip of a coin, and there was really no indication on how they got from point A to point B. It seems more whatever was convenient for the plot at the time. And I've read quite a few classic fantasy that followed suit in this. It seems like there was an era of fantasy where character development was kind of secondary to the ideas going on, and as long as you got the essence of the character, it was okay. But for me, it's not quite enough to drive a story. There's also a particular setup, dynamics between the main character and this prince that felt completely contrived to me. Like, would this character really be in this situation to, see all the happenings of the kingdom? I don't know, I had a hard time going with it. That being said, I liked the writing style enough and the basic idea for the story that for the first maybe 30% of the book, I was thinking, great, this is going to be a solid 4-star read. I'm enjoying it so much. The further I read, the more plot points came up that I wasn't totally on board with, didn't really like. And then one of the things I absolutely hate, it's a writing tool that authors use to kind of get the character in a situation that they want them in that they normally wouldn't have been in otherwise, and it's that role of the martyr. Like, oh, I'll take all the blame because I feel so guilty. You can blame me, punish me, I deserve it, when it's really not their fault kind of a thing. Oh, I hate that. So that made an appearance in here. And additionally, the basic premise of the series is these demons possess people, and he's a part of this race or faction of people that can fight the demons because they have intrinsic magic. They can go into this other world and exorcise the demons from whoever they're inhabiting. And I found the other world aspect incredibly boring. I have a hard time with the metaphysical things in books or dream sequences. It kind of felt like a dream sequence to me. And it wasn't very rich or descriptive. It was just kind of like, meh, this is happening. It's supposed to be this momentous thing, and it's like, I could have done without. And I have a whole other rant that's very plot spoilery specific that I vlogged for my patrons, but for the sake of no spoilers, I won't say here. But the whole premise for this book just doesn't sit well for me. I think that it doesn't make sense the way the society is set up around these demon fighters. It wasn't all bad. There were a few things, sequences and settings near the end that I really enjoyed. And reading the back of the book for the second book, I actually think I would like to continue. I like the idea for the story, and I will go in knowing to expect character inconsistency, so I think I'll like it a little bit more. Yeah, when I finished this book, I was like, okay, 3-star. I liked it. And then the longer I sat on it, the more I'm like, no, I think it's more a 2.5 out of 5-star, which means from a technical standpoint, it was better than just okay. It was an entertaining story, mostly well done, really like the writing flow, but I'm not quite sure if I liked it or not. Overall, there were a lot of things I enjoyed about the book, but it was kind of balanced by an equal number of things that I didn't like about the book. And that cover, though, and actually the next two books in the series, the cover for the second book is just fine. And I even don't mind the cover for the next book beyond that. So, yeah. Hopefully there's a lot more promise in these two. Let's talk about other books you might like. First up, Warded Man by Peter Brett. If your biggest draw to this Carol Berg series was the demon hunting aspect, like, you can't get any better than Peter Brett's. Granted, the second book in this one had a lot of problems for me. The first book had a few too, and it kind of knocked me off of my enthusiasm for the series as a whole. But the basic idea of the fantasy story was really cool, and I recommend the short stories as well involved with that one. Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb, because even though I think everything done in this one was far superior, I can see the resonance. So if you like that book but had a lot of complaints like I did, give this one a try. This one is definitely a higher quality story in my opinion. Such rich character development. This is my all-time favorite author though, so I'm a little biased. Arian by Maggie Fury. Now, speaking of classic fantasy with a good writing flow, enjoyable but with wildly inconsistent characters, if that aspect did not bother you about transformation, then highly recommend this one. There are not a lot of dragons in this book, so be warned, but the type of setting, the politics, the characters, all of them kind of rang similar to me to transformation, so yep, that one was a decent read. An Accident of Stars by Foz Meadows, part of What is a Duology published. I'm not sure if there's any more books planned, but I felt pretty satisfied with the way it ended. I'm recommending this one more for the world building aspect and the atmosphere and the writing flow. This is a portal fantasy, and I just got similar vibes between the two. I feel like had that book being Transformation a lot more richly developed, then we may have ended up with something a little bit more like this. Dragon Bones by Patricia Briggs. Patricia Briggs writes the Mercy Thompson series, Alpha Omega, but this is one of her classic fantasy stories, and, you know, it's a nice little bite-sized book. This one has a pretty good flow of writing and a similar atmosphere of story, and kind of similar main character in a way. There you have it. I want to take a minute to thank my patrons. Thank you so much for your support of my content and hobbies. I just really appreciate it. And thanks so much to everybody for watching. I hope to catch you next time. Bye.